Oh boy, my tenants are at each other's throats. Welcome back to Rocket Wealth, everybody. If you guys are interested in coaching from me and my wife, learning how we build wealth through real estate and stocks, send us an email. The email is going to be in the description of this video. So what happens when your tenants are fighting with each other, right? And how do you have to deal with that as a landlord? Now, you have to be a little bit of a therapist. You have to be a little bit of a manager. You kind of have to put your foot down, but you also have to empathize with these people, right? So what the heck is going on here, and how are we going about solving this problem, right? So in one of our buildings, if you guys don't follow the channel, me and my wife, we have 3 properties. We have a condo that we rent out. We have a 4 flat that we live in the top unit. We rent the other units out and live for free there. The tenants pay for everything, pay for the mortgage, the maintenance and all that. And we also have a 3 flat, right? A small building with 3 units. And gosh, that building cash flows so freaking well. The top unit, they're paying about $2,200 a month for a 3-bed, 1-bath. We're in Chicago, rents are expensive. And the middle unit, I mean, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, which is really rare, especially in the city of Chicago. They're paying $2,600. So I mean, between these two units, that's what, almost $5,000 a month. It's crazy. And they're paying parking, so it is $5,000 a month. So these 2 units are cash cows. The tenants are relatively good tenants, right? Sometimes we have issues, but I mean, they take care of the units, they pay their rent, you know, that's pretty much all you could ask for, right? But these 2 tenants, they've kind of been going back and forth, right? And it's a lesson as a landlord. Sometimes you have to deal with crap that you don't want to deal with, right? You're in the people business. So if you're going to get into real estate, if you want passive income, it is mostly passive, right? And legally, from a tax perspective, rental income is categorized as passive income. It's not this hyped up crap you hear online where people want to call everything passive income online, right? You start a YouTube channel, it's passive income. You start a drop shipping business, it's passive income. That stuff's not really passive income. It can be more passive than a job, but it's not as passive as real estate, and it's not categorized as passive income. So it is really passive, but sometimes you have to deal with some crap, right? So a couple of days ago, we get an email. We have an email that's just for our real estate business. And one of the tenants emails us and says, hey, there's cameras, you know, all over the place. You know, this is violating the city of Chicago's ordinance. You can't have audio recording, etc., etc. And she knows that these cameras belong to the other tenant. The other tenant, you know, they love putting cameras up just to be extra safe. You know, some people are like that, right? Most people aren't, but some people are. So he has a camera basically facing out his front window to the front yard, you know, so he can see if anyone walks into the front door, facing towards his parking spot, which he has 2 parking spots, one in the garage and one on the parking pad outside, like a driveway. And then, you know, the tenants have to walk by these cameras. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to complain about this. And we're like, okay, how do we handle this, right? Because on the one hand, you know, the tenant just wants to have cameras for his own security, and it's really to everyone's mutual benefit, right? When you have cameras up, criminals are less likely to target your home because you can literally see the cameras are there, right? And so it's really to everyone's mutual benefit. But at the same time, I understand, you know, people do want their privacy. So her complaint is valid to a large extent, right? So both sides have their point there. He wants to have his cameras, she wants to have her privacy. She also brought up the city ordinance, which when you're a landlord, you have to deal with, okay, what is the actual law here, right? Because if this tenant complains to the alderman or whatever it is, to the government, you know, you can get in trouble if you don't handle this right. So we're dealing with 2 upset people. We're dealing with potentially having to deal with the government or proactively see what these laws are. So we look into it, and basically, you know, when you're dealing with situations like this, the first thing you want to do is see, okay, what is the law? What is the rule here, right? And we looked into it, and first you want to deal with the laws, right? Figure out what the laws are, what the ordinances are. Then you want to deal with the people, right? With the emotions, with the therapy aspect. You want to be these people's therapist. And also you're kind of a mediator. And then to an extent though, you know, you do your job, but then at the end of the day, you also tell them, look, you also have to communicate with your neighbor, right? I'm your landlord. I'm going to help facilitate. I'm going to look into what the law is. I'm going to try and make a compromise between the two of you. And then after that, you guys, if this isn't good enough, you guys have to talk it out, right? You guys are all adults here. But basically, we looked into it, and at least in the city of Chicago, and I'm pretty sure this is probably nationwide, but don't quote me on this, you can have cameras on a property wherever there is not a reasonable expectation of privacy, right? So obviously, if you're inside your own unit, your apartment, you should have privacy, right? In the living rooms or whatever it might be. But in the backyard, in the front yard, in the garage, there is no reasonable expectation of privacy, right? So having cameras there is completely allowed. If you're the landlord, you can go ahead and put cameras there. If you're the tenant, you can put cameras there, but the landlord has to approve it, right? Obviously, anything you do on my property, I better approve it, right? That's one of my privileges as a landlord. Very privileged. But when it comes to audio, that's video. When it comes to audio, federal law states that the people who are on recording, when it comes to audio, have to know they're being recorded, right? So basically what we told the tenant is, you can have your cameras, but there can be zero audio recording, right? He said, fine, that's okay, which that should be fine. Why the heck would you want audio recording? The other tenant, we told her this. She wasn't happy about it. She kind of grumbled about it. But at the end, she kind of said, okay, you know what? That's fine, whatever. And throughout the conversation, we found out that really the reason she was causing the fuss, causing the ruckus here, was because a couple of weeks ago, she was playing some extremely loud music, and the other tenant with the cameras complained. He sent us an email. He actually sent us an audio of how loud it was. It was freaking loud. It was super loud, right? These people live right on top of each other. So we sent her a text, said, hey, please keep it down. We understand you want to play music, but, let's just please be respectful to our neighbors. She lowered it. But then she kind of retaliated by doing this, right? This is what I call being a brat, right? You're being a little bit of a brat. And at the end of the day, tenants have to talk to each other like adults, right? Your neighbors, especially in areas where you live right on top of each other. As a landlord, look up the law, take emotions into account, facilitate compromise. Then you also have to tell them, look guys, beyond this, you guys have to touch base with each other on this, right? Knock on your neighbor's door, have a conversation. You'll see him in passing in the front yard or whatever. Have a conversation like adults, right? Hey, please keep the music down a little. Hey, sure, but please keep your kid down a little because your kid's screaming, whatever it is, right? So dealing with a landlord, being a landlord, you make that sweet, sweet passive income, but you're gonna have to learn how to deal with some crap, right? And I mean, what did that take? It took us 20 minutes to look up the law. It took us, my wife actually did a couple phone calls, so she probably spent like 5 minutes on the phone with each tenant. It was probably like 45 minutes of work, right? And for what? That building makes us $2,000 a month in passive income? I'd say it's worth it, right? But guys, with that said, let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know if you've dealt with tenant issues like this, or if you're just getting started. And again, thanks again for watching. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. You could have watched any video on YouTube, but you chose this one, and I seriously appreciate that. Again, if you guys are interested in coaching when it comes to building wealth, send me an email. Email is in the description of this video. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.